I've always been skeptical about ghost stories. You know the type, people sharing true scary stories on the internet, swearing that what they saw or heard couldn't be explained. I usually brushed them off as exaggerations or tricks of the mind. But after what happened to me one summer night, I don't dismiss them anymore. This happened in 2019, when I was living in a small town in Pennsylvania. It's one of those towns where everything closes by 9 p.m. The streets are quiet, and the only real nightlife is the 24-hour diner out by the highway. I had just graduated college and was renting a small 2-bedroom house with a friend, Jake, while we both saved up for better jobs. Jake worked nights at a local factory, which meant I was usually home alone after dark. I didn't mind, I liked the peace, and our place sat on a quiet street surrounded by tall oak trees. But that night, I learned that silence can be the most terrifying sound of all. The first sign it was late, just past midnight. I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone, the TV muted in the background. My dog, Max, a golden retriever, was lying at my feet. Normally he was the calmest, friendliest dog in the world, but all of a sudden, his head shot up, his ears perked. He stared at the front door. At first I thought maybe he heard a raccoon outside or one of the neighbor's cats, but then he started growling, low, steady. The kind of growl that rumbled deep in his chest. I froze, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no cars, not even the wind. But Max wouldn't stop. His hackles were raised, his body stiff, like he was ready to defend me. I whispered, "What is it, Boyd?" and stood up, peeking through the blinds. The street was empty. The porch light lit up the driveway, but there was no one there. I told myself it was nothing, probably just an animal passing by. I patted Max to calm him down, but even as I sat back on the couch, he wouldn't settle. He just kept staring at the door, ears twitching like he was hearing something I couldn't. The knock around 1:30 a.m. I finally decided to head to bed. I turned off the TV, checked the locks twice, and climbed under the covers. The house was quiet, and for a while I started to drift off. Then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the front door. I bolted upright in bed, heart pounding. Max started barking like crazy from the living room. I grabbed my phone, checked the time, 1:47 a.m., and crept down the hall. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. No answer. I peeked through the blinds again. Still nothing. The porch was empty, the street quiet. I waited, barely breathing, for several minutes. No footsteps walking away. No car starting, just silence. Finally, I convinced myself it had to be some stupid prank, kids knocking and running. It wouldn't be the first time, but deep down, I wasn't sure. Something about the way those knocks sounded. Heavy, intentional. Like whoever did it wasn't in a hurry to leave. The breathing, I went back to bed, but I couldn't sleep. Every little creak of the house made me jump. Around 2:30 a.m. I heard it again. Not a knock, this time breathing. It was faint, but clear. Slow, steady breaths, just outside my bedroom window. I lay there frozen, staring at the curtains. Max barked from the living room, then wind, like he didn't know whether to fight or hide. I wanted to pull the curtain back, but something inside me said don't. If I looked, I might see something I could never forget. So I just lay there, listening. The breathing went on for what felt like forever. Then, just like that, it stopped. The stranger. The next morning I told Jake what happened. He laughed it off, said I was just psyching myself out from reading too many creepy stories online. But later that day, when he was leaving for his shift, he paused at the door. "Hey," he said, "did you notice these?" Pointed to the porch. There were faint smudges on the glass of the storm door, like someone had pressed their hands against it. I hadn't touched that door all week. That night, I didn't want to be alone, so I invited a couple friends over. We played video games, ordered pizza, and tried to forget about everything. By 11 p.m. they left, and once again, I was alone. I tried to stay awake until Jake got home, but by 1 a.m. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I turned off the lights and went to bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound that made my blood run cold. The creak of my bedroom door slowly opening. I shot up, fumbling for the lamp. When the light flicked on, the door was open about 6 inches. I hadn't left it like that. I grabbed a baseball bat I kept by the bed and searched the entire house. Every closet, every corner, nothing. Max stayed glued to my side, growling low. I locked myself in the room after that, but I barely slept. The old motel. The next day I couldn't focus at work. I kept thinking about the knocks, the breathing, the door. When I told a coworker about it, he gave me this weird look and said, "You're living near the old Ashbrook Motel, right?" I nodded. The Ashbrook Motel had been abandoned for years, sitting off the highway like a crumbling skeleton. "There's stories about that place," he said. "People say a drifter used to break into homes around there in the 90s. Some even say he hid in closets, under beds. He'd wait until people were asleep." I laughed it off, but inside I was rattled. Was that what was happening to me? That night, I decided to drive past the motel on my way home. The building sat in darkness, windows boarded up, roof sagging, but as my headlights swept across the lot, I swear I saw movement, a shadow ducking behind the entrance. I didn't stick around to find out. The final night a week later, it all came to a head. Jake was working a double shift, so I was alone again. I tried to distract myself with Netflix, but around 2 a.m. I heard it again. The knock 3 times. This time though, it wasn't at the front door, it was at my bedroom door. I froze, gripping the bat so hard my hands hurt. "Jake," I whispered even though I knew it couldn't be him. No answer. The knob rattled. Slowly. Like someone testing it. I backed into the corner, phone in one hand, bat in the other, and called 911. My voice shook as I whispered to the operator what was happening. By the time the police arrived, the house was silent. They searched every room, every closet, under every bed. Nothing but outside. On the dew-covered grass beneath my window, they found footprints, bare human, leading from the woods right up to my house. The aftermath. I didn't last long after that. Jake and I broke the lease and moved out within a month. I never figured out who or what had been coming to the house at night. Sometimes I wonder if it was just some creep living in the woods, messing with me. But other times, when I wake up at 2 a.m. and think I hear breathing outside my window, I wonder if it was something else, something older, something tied to that motel, or to the land itself. To this day I can't sleep with the window open. I check the locks 3 times before bed. And sometimes, when the house is quiet and the clock creeps past 2 a.m., I swear I can still hear it, that slow, steady breathing in the dark. And that's why, when people ask me if I believe in those so-called true scary stories online, I tell them yes, because I live one.
Thank you all for watching this here video.